this. One of the things we hope never happens to us is getting stuck on the road and you realize you're in a traffic jam, nothing's moving for an hour or two, you check your watch, you know when the ski is coming and you're stuck on the road and you know you're not making it. And the shilas are, of course, you should try to avoid the shilas by leaving early and having the right devices. At least for me, that's what I need that can get you around traffic. But sometimes you have no answer. There's unexpected accident, whatever it is, you're stuck there. So I want to discuss a couple of maises that happened. Halacha Maisa. Of course, the sugi is very big. There's a lot to talk about. But I want to discuss a couple of shilas that happened, and we'll discuss what was available for these people to do according to their situation. So two stories. One happened recently, one happened a few years ago. The recent story, which is a very common story, there's a person, his wife worked in New York, and she's a teacher, so on short Friday she was leaving, she left at 1 o'clock, and the wife said she got stuck on the parkway. There was a sudden accident, they closed the road, there was nowhere to go, and the kid said, finally when traffic started moving, she only had like 15 minutes to Shabbos, there was no way for her to make it, so she called her husband and she said, look, I'm not making it home for Shabbos, I'm going to stop by this and this hotel. I have nothing with me. I have no food, no clothes, but there's nothing I can do. I have to stop by this hotel, and that's it. So the husband wanted to know, can he send her food, clothing through a goyish taxi? What could be done in that situation to get her the stuff that she needs for Shabbos? That's the first mice, simple mice. Second one is a very interesting story. What happens like this: someone was engaged, and it was time for his kala to come to him for Shabbos. His parents lived in New York. The kala lived in Passaic, so he picks up the kala to come for Shabbos. And the Maisa, he comes to the Holland Tunnel, and it's mamish not moving at all. An hour passes, 2 hours pass, nothing. It's a gate. It's now about a half hour to Shabbos. 40 minutes to Shabbos, whatever it was. Kitzi, he calls up his Roshina, what he's supposed to do. He has his kala with him, and they're stuck. So he said to him, look, you have to just leave your car over there, get out of your car, just leave it, and go into Manhattan, find a place to stay for Shabbos. The kid said he wasn't too familiar with this. First of all, he tried to walk through the tunnel. The cops right away told him, you're not walk in the tunnel. Nothing to do. So he had to go around. He went across the bridge, the George Washington Bridge. The Maisa, the end of the story is that he wasn't mevater on going to his parents for Shabbos. They ended up walking through most of Manhattan at night. They stayed in a lounge for, let's say, like an hour or two, rested up. By the morning, they went across the Williamsburg Bridge, and they walked on the BQE about 11 miles till they got to Borough Park. Now, I'm not giving you any ideas. They still married each other, and Kala afterwards told them when they were married that she couldn't walk for 3 weeks after that. But they still got married, Baruch Hashem. So that wasn't the greatest idea to do. Now I asked him, at least when you were in Williamsburg, why didn't you stay there? So he told me, what do you mean I'm going to come into Williamsburg and stay by myself and say I have my Kala with me? How can I do that? So he said, Avraham Avinu gave you the eights already. Say, Achloisi here, you don't have to do it. Okay, but the kids are nice. Some of these shilas that go on can be very complicated. So I want to take the first shilah first. Can you send food and clothing to someone who you know is stuck somewhere for Shabbos? So the first thing we have to know is like this. The klal in Amir Lak, the state of a Yid is not going to be able to drive, but the question is sending a goy. So the klal always is in Amir Lak, if you're doing a malacha d'Rabbanan, then the halacha is shvus to shvus b'makim mitzvah is mutter. So, for example, let's say a person cannot have a Suda Shabbos. Let's say his Suda is stuck somewhere and he needs to do a malach d'Rabbanan to get his food. The halacha is you're allowed to tell a guy to do it. Shvus to shvus b'makim mitzvah is mutter. If you have to do a malacha d'Raisa b'makim mitzvah, we'll soon see. Normal, usually the psak is that you can't do a malacha d'Raisa ayidei guy. So over here, what are you going to tell the guy to do when you're asking him to bring stuff? So there's a lot of malachas that are done. most of them are d'Rabbanan. First of all, usually you're going to be telling your guy to go out of the tchum. As a general rule, if you're going from Lakewood, you go out onto highways, this is going to be the tchum. If you're in New York and the person's stuck somewhere, usually in New York, it's not the tchum. The tchum is complicated. You have to find out from someone who knows. But as a general rule, if you're talking in Lakewood, once you're going to leave and go onto the highways, you're going to be out of the tchum. So you're talking about taking chafetzim out of the tchum is one malacha. Then the guy has to carry the stuff from his car into the room. He's going to do malacha of taking it from a carmelist, even if you say it's not a Rosh Hashanah, it's a carmelist, and he's taking it into a Rosh Hashanah, so he's going to do that. So there's a lot of malachas d'Rabbanan that he would do if your house is out of the Eruv, taking the stuff from your house into his car could also be problematic. But these are malachas d'Rabbanan, which would be mutai de'akim. The main problem is that you're asking the guy to drive. And when the guy is driving a car is a malacha d'Raisa. So therefore, you're talking over here of a question of asking a guy to drive for you, you're telling a guy to do a malacha d'Raisa. Now I want to add something which is a simple zach, but some people get mixed up with this. There is a halacha that if you tell a guy to do something that's mutter, and he decides to do it in the oifen of Isser, you don't have to, that's okay. So let's say I tell a guy to wash my dishes. And then the guy decides he wants to turn on the hot water or heat up hot water to wash the dishes. I never asked him to do that, I just asked him to wash dishes. So the person would say that that's mutter because you didn't tell him to do a malacha. So some people think, I'll tell the guy, you bring these packages to exit 105. So I'm not telling him to do a malacha. If he wants, he can carry it himself. I'm not telling him to drive the car. But all the poskim realize that's not true. That the only time when matter is if it's normal, at least in some people would do it that way. But if you ask someone to go 20 miles away, 15, 20 miles away, of course the person is never going to walk, and that's considered telling the person to do it. The same thing, they say, let's say you're on, let's say, the 30th floor of a hotel, and you ask, please bring me up something, a case that doesn't have a heter on your locker. So you say, well, he could use the stairs, but on the 30th floor, he's not going to use the stairs. If you're on the second or third floor, you could say such a thing. So obviously, even though you're not going to tell the guy to drive his car, but if you ask him to bring something very far, there's no question that would be nichol. Oh, so what's the heter? What could be possibly a heter over here? So there's a halacha like this. The Mechaber brings down the Simon Reish Samach Aleph, and also in Shimon Beis, that shvus bein hashmashis is mutter. You're allowed to do melachos d'Rabbanan bein hashmashis. Now, not all shvusim are mutter bein hashmashis, and there could be problems if the tzibur is mekabel Shabbos. We're not going to go into that. But Amir la'akum is mutter bein hashmashis. That's according to everyone, as long as there's a tzorich of Shabbos. And of course, over here in this case, there's a tzorich of Shabbos, and Amir la'akum would be mutter during bein hashmashis. So, in this case, the wife called up the husband. It was about 20 minutes before Shabbos. So let him get to work and send the things. The problem is that even though the Amir La'akum is mutter bein hashmashis, but you have to make sure that the guy will get there by the end of bein hashmashis. Because the same way I can't tell a guy on Friday to do a malacha for me on Shabbos, even though I said the Amir on Friday. So the same thing is, you can't tell a guy bein hashmashis to do a malacha unless he's going to finish doing the malacha for you by the end of bein hashmashis. But here, usually in these cases, until you're going to get all your stuff together that you need, till the taxi's going to come, and until he ends up going, if it works out that he'll get there by the end of bein hashmashis, it's taking mutter. It's not a question. Now, how long is bein hashmashis? So Rav Moshe says in the tshuva, there's a steer in the tshuva. One tshuva he says you could be makel till a half hour after shkia, and in a different tshuva he says 40 minutes after shkia. 40 minutes. So a lot of poskim are soymach on the second tshuva that you could be makel till 40 minutes. Actually, those who are machmer always to wait 72 minutes on Matzah Shabbos, and we know those who go like Rav Moshe, they go only till 50 on Matzah Shabbos. So then bein hashmashis, the latest is going to be 40. But if your machmer always 72, I heard from a Kama poskim, a fellow told me this, that you can be makel up to 58 minutes after shkia if you're always makel like you're a machmer like that. So then in this case you can be makel. If someone does malach already 50 minutes, that means he's soymach on Rav Moshe, even the kula, so then avada you can't be makel more than 40 minutes. But if you always do it, then it can be 58 minutes. So you have to know exactly how much time you have, but in a lot of cases, you're not going to have this amount of time, and that would take care of this heter. So are there any other heterim to be able to send a box of food? So like this, there's an interesting halacha that the halacha brings down from Chassam Sofer. We know that telling a guy to do a malacha is problematic. There's an issa of amir la'akim. The question is, let's say I tell one guy to tell the other guy to do the malacha. So for example, I call in, let's say, my worker, and I say to him, look, I need something to get done. I want you to tell your friend to do it. You tell your friend to do it. So is that also not? Is that nichlal on the issa of amir la'akim? So it's a complicated halacha. It could be, it depends, according to a lot of poskim, if the second guy knows who he's doing it for. If the second guy chops that it was a whole shtick, the whole thing, and really he's doing it for the yid, a lot of poskim say that's a problem. But if the second guy, Taka, has no idea, he thinks he's working for the first guy, there are cases where you can be mekel and there's not, don't jump to be mekel, there's a lot of t'nayim in this thing. So on Shabbos, there's a lot to talk about this halacha. But in the Bi'alacha, he brings a very interesting Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says that even though Amir La'akim is also if you say it on Friday, right? If I go Friday and I tell a guy to do a malacha for me on Shabbos, no heter. And like we mentioned, Amir La'amir is not so simple when you can be making an Amir La'amir. But Chassam Sofer says that if you do Amir La'amir on Erev Shabbos, you tell a guy Erev Shabbos to tell another guy to do it, and the Yisrael did the Amir on Erev Shabbos, he brings a Chassam Sofer that's mutter. That would be mutter to do because that's already 2 steps away from the Amir, and they didn't ask that on Erev Shabbos. The Bi'alacha, when he brings down the Chassam Sofer, he says it's a milsa chalat, it's a big chiddush, and he says from the Chuvas Harashba, it would seem not like that. So he's not so soymach on this. L'maisa, I heard from Kama Poskim, that avada in a big case of a tzorich like this case that we mentioned, you could be soymach on this Chassam Sofer, and if you do the Amir on Erev Shabbos, which like we said, with soymach would also be Ben Hashmashis. Ben Hashmashis with soymach is still Erev Shabbos, the Gabi Amir La'akim. So then it would be mutter to do Amir La'amir. So
if you call the car service, he's calling off.
Oh, very good.
Right?
But he knows it's for you.
If you call Erev Shabbos, you can do that. You're right. If I call the taxi service on Erev Shabbos, and he's going to dispatch someone, then you're right. But let's say it's Shabbos, you have to get a different...
the guy who's driving knows who he's doing it for.
Oh,
come
so
pick up the item.
You're saying very good. Now if it's Erev Shabbos, like he said, you might be able to do it, but on Shabbos, it's for sure you're not allowed to call. You can't do something yourself. So what you have to do is you have to get a guy. You can get a guy to call for you. Get a guy to call and order the taxi. Now here's where it gets complicated, like he mentioned before. If a taxi's coming down to your house to deliver things, so he's going to come to your door, he's going to say, what do I have to take? So you're going to start being busy with him. Second of all, he's going to ask you for payment. He's going to want money, he's not doing it for free for you. So now he's going to say, where's the money? So once you start taking over the whole situation, you're giving him all the stuff, and you're going to hand him the money, you're paying him. So obviously he understands that you're the person that's sending him. He's not really too interested who made the phone call. The point is, at the end of the day, who's sending him to the next thing. So if you're going to want to do this heter, you have to play it very well. You have to have the guy down by your house, and the guy taking care of everything with the taxi, and he has nothing to do with you. You show the guy where the money is, everything. So if you do it correctly, which is not so simple,
when he shows
you
up,
can do it.
He's see what he's delivering to also.
Oh, that's okay. So the guy asked you to deliver to him. But he doesn't care. He's not going to care about that. He only cares about the person who sent him. So if there's a guy being icy the whole time, dealing with him, that's the person who sent him. And frustrated, the guy is the one who's going to hand him the money. The Yid was all worked out that the guy is going to be doing the Amir. So in that case, it would be mutter in such a case. Like we said, it's not so simple to do this correctly, as we mentioned, because there's a lot going on that has to be done right, where the guy is gonna understand that he's being sent by the other guy. But it's doable, but you have to be careful. The other heter that we have to know, and if this is a good heter, this will be very simple. That is what the Mishnah Berurah brings down in Simon Reishayin Vav. It's actually Ramah. The Ramah brings down like this. Yesh Oimrim the Mutter Loim al Ein Yehudi Lahadik Loiner the Suda Shabbos. Some say that, let's say that we're going to olden times now where a person was sitting in the dark, it was pitch black, he couldn't eat his meal. So he brings down that some hold you're allowed to get a guy to light in there for you. Mishum Svirlei the Mutter Amirlei Yehudi Afil B'Mlacha Gemura B'Makom Mitzvah. You're allowed to tell a guy to do a Melacha Gemura B'Makom Mitzvah. And Ramah says, "Shapizeh nogu rabim lahakol b'davar l'tzavis le'eni Yehudi lahadik nevis l'tzorich suda b'frat sudas chasana imila ve'imoich b'yad." So the Ramah brings down, this is known as the shita of the Bala Iter, that l'tzorich mitzvah you're allowed to tell a guy to do a malacha, even a malacha deraisa. The Ramah's psak is that yesh lahachmeh b'makom she'ein tzorich gadol the rov hapoiskim chokim asvarzim. He says a person should be machman not to be soymech on this shita, unless there's a tzorich gadol. By a tzorich gadol, the Ramah is saying he could be soymech because even though it's a das yachid, we're soymech on a tzorich gadol. The problem is, the Mishnah Berurah brings down that the shlah is hichme af the tzorich gadol. The shlah is not soymech on the shita at all, even the tzorich gadol. But she came raw noigin b'kilas chashuvas she yeshvim b'chashecha b'mat Shabbos afilu b'chasana at sheyoyra kal baruchu. And he brings down different cases where they weren't makel. He does say that b'makim where there's a michshel derabim, he says, let's say the Eruv fell down and people are carrying because they don't know the Eruv fell down. So he says then you'd be allowed to tell a guy to fix the Eruv so people shouldn't come with a michshel. So that's the only time the Mishnah Berurah is saying on the sheet of the Bala Iter. But even the Tzorich Gadol, even though the Ramah was making the Tzorich Gadol, the Mishnah Berurah was not making. So if we go like the Ramah, that the Tzorich Gadol, a person could be makel, so this Eilecha Tzorich Gadol, here you have a person stuck in a hotel without any food for the whole Shabbos, without any clothing. So at that point, the person is in a situation where it's a Tzorich Gadol. But the Mishnah Berurah is saying you can't be soymech on this, the Tzorich Gadol. So how do we go? So it's interesting, there's a tshuva in Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe talks about that someone had their food in a refrigerator and they forgot to unscrew the light bulb. So now every time they're going to open the fridge, they're going to turn on the light. So Rav Moshe wants to know if you can get a goy. Now, in that particular case, there are other heterim with getting a goy, but the main point that we need is what Rav Moshe says in 2 lines over here. He says that in this case, where a person has ikir macholim shechinu b'Shabbos nimtza sham, yesh lahata l'ftayach adinach, where you can get a goy, and he says v'anachri yisale gamas ha'or, the goy can unscrew the bowl, mishum shegam zeh hu tzoyrich k'dei sheyuchlo likach l'suda ashniya. You have to take the other suda, k'di isa b'ramah, the noigin lahakol l'tzoyrich gadol v'amir l'nachri afilu b'melacha gemur. So he says that we're noying to be makel like he brings the Ramah down, la'alach l'maisa, that we're noying to be makel even with a malacha gemura. So it seems that Rav Moshe was soymech on the shita of the Ramah, not like the Mishnah Berurah, who went with the shlah, that you're not allowed to be makel even the tzorich gadol. There's another tshuva for Rav Moshe, where Rav Moshe talks about an air conditioner being on in a place where it was too cold, and he said everyone was leaving the shul, no one was staying in shul, it was too cold, so they weren't davening, and the minyan fell apart. Rav Moshe says in that case, since it's a tzorich mitzvah derabim, he says even the shlah is make. But there he says min haroi lahachme like the shlah. But he says in that case I just told you even the shlah is make because everyone's leaving the shul, so it's a makom of a mitzvah derabim. So he does say that it's better to be machme like the shlah in that case. But he only says min haroi lahachme. It seems again that Rav Moshe's ikeh shita would be that he's making. So the question is, really at the end of the day, are we makel in a case like this, which is definitely a tzorich gadol on the sheet of the Bala Iter? I asked Rabbi Felder this shaila, would he be makel in this case? And he told me no, he would not be makel, because Hinemzan, someone who's stuck in a hotel, will still be able to eat something. They're not going to have to fast though. If you're in a situation where the person's stuck without food, they would end up having to fast the whole Shabbos. Okay, then he would be makel on the Bala Iter. But if you have where the person can get even if it's a non-kosher hotel, they can get some vegetables, they can get something, they're not going to be stuck against the Shabbos. So, without food, he held you cannot be make on the Bala Iter. The Maisa, I did speak to some other poskim who go more into Moshe's Mahalach, and they were makers. Like we said, as you're getting ready, all the stuff to send, you have to call a Rav also to see if they're going to be making for you or not. It's very problematic. The Heterim are not great. If you can do the first 8, like we mentioned, you get one guy to tell the other guy in a matzav where he's not going to know. So then Vashteitzach would be good in that case. If you can't do that, it's not so simple to do that. So we have the other heter of the Bala Iter, and therefore a person can be making. I just want to add that in this case, for sure, a person can be making up to 72 minutes. Because since there's a big tzad that was Soymach on the Bala Iter straight out, so if there's still a tzad that it's not Laila, a person can be making in that case for sure. If it's going to get to after 72 minutes, a person would have to be careful. Now I want to just add, if you're Soymach on the Bala Iter and you hold that you're allowed to send, so even things that we would all agree are not part of the Bala Iter, let's say the person needs some wine for Kiddush, so you'll send grape juice, or the person, let's say, needs a siddur to daven. So that for sure, we're not Soymach on the Bala Iter, that's not called the Tzorech Gadol, that the person should daven. It's just a mitzvah. So once you have the guy going, and he's driving because you're Soymach on the Bala Iter, because the person can't starve a whole Shabbos. So then to send extra things, that's only a Malacha D'Rabbanan. The driving he's doing anyway. He's not doing extra driving because he's taking a siddur or he's taking a kais for Kiddush and grape juice. So it's just a question of doing Malachas D'Rabbanan, that he's going to take those things out of the Tchum, he's going to take those things and carry them into the hotel room. So that is mutter, because Shvus to Shvus, B'makim Mitzvah, is mutter. So once you have an eitzah to get the guy to drive, it would be good. I was telling over the shayla to some people, now here's another not practical eitzah, but they were saying like this: if you tell the guy, look, I'll give you a free night in this hotel. You pull over a guy, you say, I'm giving you a free night in the hotel. So, if the guy wants a free night in the hotel, I'm telling he won't, but let's say he does. Let's say it's a person that's poor, a Mexican who would love to stay in a 5-star hotel. So if he's going anyways for himself, again, if he's going for himself, at that point, to ask him to take the stuff, you didn't do that mirror on the driver. The driver is going for himself because he wants to stay in the hotel. You offered him a nice night. And then afterwards, to ask him to take his stuff would be supposed to be the same thing. Now again...
Then it's paying for him on Shabbos.
What?
Then it's paying for him on Shabbos.
What? You could, I'm saying you'll take care of it, Phil.
It's me buying on Shabbos though.
Okay, you're not buying anything. He's going to take... You're gonna pay for it, Phil. You're going to let him have it. I'm saying... He's gonna, so you tell him, lay out the money, I'll pay back. Okay, could be he won't trust you, but I'm saying, if he takes care of everything,
give me your credit card. Show me where your credit card is.
Give me my credit card and say, go.
Show me where your credit card is. He swipes your credit card.
Okay, he can take his credit card, right? He can take your credit card. He can do that. He can take your credit. If he takes your credit card, that's his thing. Now,
could you send
I'll say this.
Let's you send a magazine.
Oh, so I would say no. I would say no. Right. He wanted to send also magazines and this guy. I would think at that point, it's not a shul to walking mitzvah anymore. So everything he's taking could be problematic. Else he's taking it out of the
You put it in the same box.
So you're saying Rabbi Shiur?
Yeah.
Rabbi Shiur and Idei Akum. I didn't want to get into this, but Rabbi Shiur and Idei Akum is not pashit for 2 reasons. Number one, first of all, Rabbi Shiur and Idei Akum. Let me just explain what he's asking over here. There's a concept in halacha called Rabbi Shiur. What does that mean? That means let's say you have a chodesh yesh b'sakana. So you're allowed to cook for a chodesh yesh b'sakana, even yourself. You can go and cook. Someone has a sakana, you can cook. So now, once you're cooking, could you just add a little more food? Because anyways, the malacha is being done, right? The malacha has to be done for the chayla. And now, I'm being marbi b'shir, and I'm adding more. So I'm not really doing a new malacha. The fire's on, everything's on. I'm adding more. So of course it doesn't mean you add after the things on the fire. It means you put everything there before you put it on the fire, then you do one ma'aseh putting on the fire. That's what we should. So it's a machlokes rishonim if that's an issa deraisa or issa derabbanan. The Mishmur brings it down, it's a Mishin Ches, and that's an issa deraisa or derabbanan. Now, Amir l'nachri by Rabbi Shiurim is a big tumult. Some say that it's mutter l'gamri, and some say no, it's not. It's a machlokes. But what he's saying is the machlokes is if you put it in the same box, things that there's a heta to do, and you're married, so first of all, it's machlokes. But Ramesh has a tshuva, where Ramesh says that Rabbi Shiurim is only when it's possible to use something for the same thing. The case Ramesh is talking about is like this. The Ramesh writes in a tshuva that on Yom Tif, let's say someone smokes on Yom Tif. He holds you allowed to smoke on Yom Tif. So now he carries a whole pack of cigarettes to go with him from one place to the other. And Ramesh writes in the tshuva, really only needs 2 cigarettes, doesn't need the whole box. So the rest of the cigarettes are Shaloi L'Tzorech, right? But Rabbi Shiurim on Yom Tif is mutter. Rabbi Shiurim is close mutter on Yom Tif, you're allowed to carry the whole box. So in the Sefer Shmir Shabbos Kol Chasa, he says, according to what Moshe says, if you have a whole ring of keys, let's say, you have a whole ring of keys, and you only need your house key, so you're allowed to carry, even though there's keys on there that you don't need it at all. That's what he says. So Moshe says that no, the Shmir Shabbos Kol Chasa had no right to say that, but what did he say? Because he says Rabbi Shiurim is only when each cigarette can be used. You only need 2, but you don't care which 2. Each one can be used for the same tachlis. But if you have a bunch of keys, and now there's only one house key, so then the other keys have no shaykhs for cloud, they can't be used. So that's not Rabbi Shiurim Zaktu Moshe, that's carrying other things that are not part of it at all. So according to Moshe, Rabbi Shiurim is only something that can be used. You need 2 diapers for your child, and you carry 20. That's Rabbi Shiurim, because any one of these diapers you can use. But if you, let's say, need socks, and you say, once I'm carrying socks, I'm going to carry also a shirt, and I don't need the shirt at all, so then that's not Rabbi Shiurim Zaktu Moshe. So again, the same thing that he's trying to bring up, that you could say Rabbi Shiurim on the fact that I'm going to put in the mishpach and the yated in there, so then that's not going to work, because that's not Rabbi Shiurim if it's food. So food, it's geschmack to read the papers, but it's not food. So at the end of the day,
You don't know how much you sell. You don't
So
know.
you could
you
send,
don't know.
send
You can send as much food as you need.
That's
That's Rabbi Shiurim. To send more food.
But
would be
different
Rabbi
types
Shiurim.
of food.
Yeah, but different types of food is also good. Food is food.
2 challahs, inflation, everything.
Right, food is food. Whatever, that you could already say Rabbi Shiurim. And to send stop extra things b'chlal you wouldn't need.
What about keys?
Why?
Keys for what?
What did you just say about the keys? The ring?
No, I said the ring of keys. The Rosh says taking out like carry on Yom Tov. He says
It's
you
not
can't
saying
carry a
ring.
ring of keys on Yom Tov if you only need 2 of the keys. Tani Tak says no. There's no Rabbi Shiurim.
Maybe that's the same with food. You don't need all the food.
No, but each key is a separate thing. I could.
You can't
I
use
need
half the
food,
keys.
right?
There's no
So
use
I
for
Food
it.
is a
this
separate
food.
food. Each separate
Yeah, but she can eat any of the food.
I might eat any of the food.
So I'm not. Oh,
You can't use all the
I
keys.
don't need those keys. I don't need it, right?
Hmm.
So it's not considered Rabbi Shiurim.
If we make from Amir Lenach Rebbe Hashmashas, why only till 40 or 58 minutes? Why not till 72 or 50?
Right.
Ben
So
Hashmashas goes till 50
right.
72.
Right. No, so Moshe says that whenever there's a svek sveka that it's not ben hashmoshes, you can't do that. I don't want to get into it. But if there's a svek sveka the other way, the chumrah, so then you can't be set up on the head of ben hashmoshes anymore.
But till 50
So you have to go in and everybody top. No, it's not. It's not. Because we're worried about if lo to go in, it's for sure live. And according to Ben Tam, it's a soft. He doesn't want to make it. That's the problem. Okay. Now, what? So what time?
Do you have something to finish?
And that minute,
Okay, I just want to add that there could be sometimes problematic sending food with a guy, also because of the problem of basash and salam and ayin. So you just have to be careful with that. Also, it's good to send things that are closed in closed packages. Although there could be shilas of opening, zachan on Shabbos, but you could get into that issue. I don't want to get into that now, but it's something you have to watch out for. Now, I want to just mention the other meister that we spoke about, where someone is stuck by the Holland Tunnel, and here the person is, the psak this person got was that he has to leave the car there, which is technically true. We understand for sure a person can't drive on Shabbos because he's afraid that his car is going to be towed, and the police, I don't know how much they charge you, they probably charge you a few $100s. So that's for sure true, you can't drive. But the question is now, can you get a guy, everyone's sitting in traffic over there, you get a guy, and tell the guy to drive your car